The field is coming to the white flag of the 2011 Daytona 500, and look who's leading the race.
Rookie Trevor Bayne.
Trevor Bayne is on the verge of one of the greatest underdog wins in NASCAR history. Driving for a legacy NASCAR team that laid the foundation for the sport, yet had won just one time since the turn of the millennium, while being 2.5 miles away from winning the biggest race NASCAR runs after turning 20 years old a day prior, the same amount of time it took Dale Earnhardt to win this same race.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration.
But how did Trevor Bayne get to the lead in the first place? How did he come back from destroying his car in the duels that were run prior to the race? And how did he even earn a cup ride at 20 years old? Well, to answer these, we have to go back to 2001.
2-1 to go this time. Last lap.
White flag here, white flag.
No traffic, no nothing.
Now the Wood brothers.
Blue sky.
The Wood brothers who began when NASCAR began in 1949, but haven't won in so long. Gordon turns around Tony Stewart. Here they come to the flag. Sadler wins it.
This was the first win for the Wood brothers since all the way back in 1993, a far cry from their dominant years in the 1970s with David Pearson, where in 138 starts the team garnered an astounding 43 wins, equaling to a 31% winning rate, or nearly 1 out of every 3 races they ran, including the 1973 season, where Pearson won 11 out of 18 races he competed in. Yet once Pearson abruptly left and the 1980s rolled around, they slowly began to slip, going from winning a few times a year to just 2 times in the entire decade of the 90s. But this Elliott Sadler win in 2001 wouldn't change the fortunes of the team, as they'd still continue to struggle with speed throughout the decade, eventually being forced into becoming a part-time team in 2009 due to their lack of funding. However, during one of these part-time races in 2010, the Wood brothers elected to hire a 19-year-old to make his Cup debut, coming during the Texas 500 on November 7, 2010. Trevor Bayne, born on February 19, 1991 in Knoxville, Tennessee, would earn his first major ride in NASCAR when he signed a part-time deal to race for Michael Waltrip Racing in the middle of 2009, where in the ride, he'd qualify second place in his debut with them, along with an impressive pole and top 10 run at IRP later in the season. Bayne returned back to Michael Waltrip Racing in 2010 for what was believed to be an entire schedule, but after a solid campaign which saw him win 3 poles in a row, along with the best finish of third 2 times at just 19 years old, Jack Roush saw his chance to snag a future top prospect in NASCAR. It was announced that Trevor Bayne had signed a multi-year deal with Roush, putting him on one of the most powerful teams in NASCAR. Outside of running in the Nationwide Series, Roush assisted Bayne in getting hired by fellow 4-team Wood Brothers Racing to make his Cup debut, which leads us back to November 7, 2010. On the track, Bayne excelled in his debut, running all 500 miles and finishing on the lead lap in 17th, while even making an impressive through-ride pass on the top of 2 other cars. Yet the race most importantly helped showcase Bayne's ability to adapt to new things quickly, and with that, Wood Brothers Racing knew they had their driver for next year's Daytona 500. Trevor Bayne and the Wood brothers immediately unloaded off their hauler with speed, missing out on qualifying on the front row just barely to the 2 Hendrick cars of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon, but nonetheless still being the fastest Ford team on qualifying day, sitting with an impressive 3rd place run. Knowing how much speed Bayne had, and being without his Hendrick teammates for his duel, Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon sought after the then 19-year-old driver and asked to draft together in their duel using the new tandem-style drafting, where with it, 2 cars would essentially work together for the whole race, swapping back and forth on who was leading when they needed to cool their temps. But the new drafting style could be a dangerous thing to attempt with an inexperienced driver, as one wrong bumper swipe continues spinning in front of the entire field. Gordon and Bayne would roll off first and second in their duel. However, immediately on the start, they would fail to hook up with each other to start their tandem, forcing the drivers to lose all their track position within the first lap of the 150-mile duel and drop back near towards the rear. Yet a quick caution allowed them to reset, and they quickly re-entered the front pack and began gapping the field with them on lap 10. The duo continued to work with each other for the entire event, finding themselves in first and second for a restart with just 17 to go, but once again Bayne would fail to link up with Gordon off the restart, and again they would free fall within the lap and lose all their track position. One more time they'd be granted an opportunity to work with each other on a restart, this time with 3 to go. However, Martin Truex Jr. immediately split the drivers up entering turn 1, sending them to the back, where when they were trying to regain the lost positions on the white flag, Bayne would end up pushing too hard off of turn 4.
They got to run, but they're going to
Crash!
Oh, no.
Trevor Bayne is in it along with David Reagan. And Burton will win it over Boyer.
5 1,000ths of a second.
What's your game plan for today?
The same thing his was, I guess. You know, we're all here to win, but I understand that's my first 500, and I have a lot to learn. But I tell you, man, this fast race car has done me a lot of justice so far these speed weeks. These guys, everybody on this Wood Brothers crew has just provided me an awesome race car that I think has the capabilities of running up front. You know, it's just finding that buddy to work with, which I think we built a lot of those relationships this week, and I've got a lot of good support, man. So we're pumped about it.
All right there. Good job through the week here. You've been going to school. Today is graduation. Hope you get this certificate.
Bayne's team repaired the wrecked car from his duel, believing they had a winning ride. And once the green flag dropped, Jeff Gordon once again chose to work with Bayne, eventually teaming up by lap 20. However, things officially began to unravel for the duo on lap 24, when after the 29 car of Kevin Harvick blew up in front of the field, leaving a plume of smoke and oil, Gordon was unable to drive through cleanly and ran square into the back of the other Gordon, Robbie, forcing him to pit with damages to the front end while Bayne continued up front. This is important, as just 5 laps later, just before the big one of the race, you can find the 21 ahead of where it begins and the 24 right in the middle of the pack for it.
Yo, 200 miles an hour with somebody pushing.
Trouble turn 3.
Big wreck.
Brian Kozlowski, David Rudeman, Michael Waltrip, Matt Kenseth,
Big
and
wreck.
half the field.
I see about 3 of the Hendrick cars there that's involved.
Mark Martin is there. I see him. There's a Biffle. Jimmy Johnson's laying over there. There's a 24 car. Looks pretty bad.
The wreck ended Gordon's day and took away Bayne's drafting partner, but that wouldn't matter as he had already found a new one in David Reagan, who with him through most of the event, stayed up front running a clean race and staying out of trouble during the onslaught of cautions of bad pushes leading to crashes. With 25 to go, Bayne pushed Reagan to the lead off of turn 2, and for the next 6 laps they continued to mix it up in the small front pack for the win, until the 14th yellow of the day flew with 19 to go. Once the race resumed, and a few laps had clicked by, the field was left with 5 dominant tandems competing for the win with 8 to go, featuring all of the top 3 and lap leaders for the race. The drivers in this pack continued to swap back and forth for the lead over the next few laps, seeing Bayne and Reagan shoot the middle with 5 to go to regain it for themselves, and choosing the perfect time to do it, as it allowed for them to be ahead of the pileup that was forming behind them.
First sprint. Oh! Smith gets turned in front of Boyer and Newman and Hamlin.
Keep coming. Caution down now. Wait them off.
The caution set up a green-white checkered, with Reagan and Bayne being first and second, yet the two had worked out a plan for Reagan to drop down in front of Bayne, and for him to push him all the way to the flag in a 1-2 finish for them. But on the restart, Reagan made the move too early, choosing to swap lanes prior to the start-finish line, which is worthy of a black flag per NASCAR rules. And within an instant, he had swiftly eliminated his greatest chance at winning the Daytona 500 he'd ever have in his career. The 16th and final caution of the day came out soon after, putting Trevor Bayne into the lead for the first time in his Cup Series career, going up against 3 Hall of Fame drivers who hadn't won the Daytona 500 on the restart, and Tony Stewart, Mark Martin, and Bobby Labonte. Bayne elected to choose the inside lane with help from Labonte on the restart, and it quickly proved to be the right choice, as the two shot out of a cannon, eventually leading a 4-car train down the backstretch. 2 of the cars managed to escape from the main pack, and were closing in through turns 3 and 4. Leaving Trevor Bayne with just 5 cars to fend off, to etch his name onto the greatest trophy in NASCAR at just 20 years old.
Rookie Trevor Bayne in his second Sprint Cup start will lead them to the white flag with Bobby Labonte. Here comes Kurt Busch and Juan Montoya, Carl Edwards in 5th.
And we know Kurt Busch and Montoya is going to make a move. DW, when will they make it?
I don't think they're going to make it till turn 4. I mean, we keep hearing about I'm a sitting duck when I'm leading this thing, so I guess that makes the 21 a sitting duck right now. But
We'll see here. That 22 knows how to win from that position. That's where he won the But shootout from.
Edwards and Gilliland down to the inside, trying to
Where did that 34 come from?
try to spoil the party.
Oh my
They
God.
spoiled the party for Kurt Busch and Montoya in here. They come through turn 4.
Gilliland, former pole sitter of the 500. Edwards has room underneath. Now he pushes Trevor Bayne.
It's over.
Cinderella.
Trevor Bayne is going to win the Daytona 500.
Unbelievable.
Happy birthday, Trevor Bayne, 20 years old.
Are you kidding me? What?
This is unbelievable. This is fairy tale stuff. This is like once upon a time.
The glass slipper fit.
It did, man, it did.
Watch the spoiler, watch the spoiler.
Watch the spoiler. Yeah, right.
Oh my word. Can you believe it? Oh yeah!
The win was one of the most shocking and greatest underdog moments in the history of NASCAR. As Bayne was well over 5 years younger than the previous youngest driver to win the Daytona 500 in Jeff Gordon, while also putting life back into Wood Brothers Racing, a win that later carried them back into form as a competitive team a few years down the line. Nevertheless, reality came crashing down on Bayne, as it so quickly does in NASCAR. Seeing him crash out just 49 laps into the following race the next week at Phoenix, being backed up by wrecking out in his return to the speedway in July, and finally, only making it just one lap into his return to the race in 2012 before being involved in a crash. Trevor Bayne never went on to win anything else in his NASCAR career, and it's probably fair to assume he's a bust. Yet none of that matters, because for that moment on February 20th, 2011, he was on top of the NASCAR world, enjoying a win that many drivers would trade their entire trophy case for. As for many, the Daytona 500 is more than just a race. It's what defines and drives their entire career, and Trevor Bayne's name will forever be on that trophy that they're chasing as a winner.
Every young kid who has ever stepped into a race car has dreamt of this moment. But what happens when you're a kid yourself, just 20 years old yesterday? Travis, I'm going to say some words to you. You're a Daytona 500 winner. Has it sunk in?
No, I keep thinking I'm dreaming. I really do.